How's everybody doing this morning? Great, good. So it's early. So like Craig said, I'm gonna start off with just a couple PowerPoint slides. I promise there's like 5, okay? And then we're gonna get into the demo. We're gonna spend a lot of time in the product. I'm gonna show you a lot of the manager and employee self-service. So you gotta have your manager and employee self-service hat on. The interface for them looks very different than it does for the practitioners. So just kind of keep that in mind. I mean, it's night and day different from what a practitioner would see when they log in to run payroll or hire somebody versus what a manager and employee would see on. Oh, is it not on?
No, you're just not in front of it.
Oh, gotcha. I've got like mics everywhere, so is that better? Everybody good now? Okay, so we're going to be running through again the employee manager self-service. Just keep that hat on today. As you have questions, go ahead and write those down. I'm excited to see what they are. I can tell you that this user interface is much better than it's ever been for any other PeopleSoft product. It's in line with the market leaders and some of the other products like Workday. I mean, everybody's going in the same direction. The mobile devices are taking over the world, and so these big software vendors are responding, and we'll see some of that today. Going through the Constitution, this is the Constitution for our project. One source data, a governing structure, 2 up from the bottom, and then one technical platform and software solution. So these modules will be rolled out at different times depending on what institution you're with, what school you're with. We'll have a pilot going live in January. This will be part of the pilot, so we'll be able to see this in a real live production environment, and we'll work through the kinks. So probably the later you are in the process, the better it's going to be for you, honestly. Each school, as we go through this, or each institution is going to be able to choose their own approval paths by institution. So you're not going to be kind of locked in necessarily to what everybody else is doing. This system's very template-based, and so what we've got is some proposed approval levels. These have gone to the HCM steering committee and have been approved. And basically, if you look at them, at the top there, we've got a 5-level approval, if you will. We're seeing this in things like job openings, for instance, where we need to have a president or an executive, a VP of budget, line VP, 1 up, and then an originator. At the end of each of these processes, HR is the gatekeeper, okay? So nothing goes in, nothing gets updated without HR. Somebody from HR, and HR being payroll, benefits, whoever we assign to that, giving it the final check off and updating the database. So what we basically did is we have an A, a B. The B row, all it's doing is excluding the president and the executive. And the only other call out I would say is because we had this in the HCM steering committee and it was a big deal. So I'm an originator, but I'm going to delegate the task. So I can delegate it to someone in my line of business. When I do that, it's going to send it back to me and have me approve that as an approver, from the delegation. So that way a delegator can't send something on your behalf without you being aware of it. So you can see there on the originator also can approve their own request, and that's for audit purposes. Now this product, it audits everything you do, everything you touch, every time you hit the save. It tells who did it, when they did it, what the old value was, what the new value was. So this is really set up for like a Sarbanes-Oxley public company. So I mean, it hands down will give you everything you need from an audit perspective. The other call out is between the 1 up and the line VP. We've got a notifying here. So what we're trying to do is designate the difference between a notification and approval and a reviewer. So there's kind of 3 different roles. And as we sit down and go through these design sessions, for each school, we're going to sit in a room with a whiteboard, and we're going to go through and talk about who needs to review, who needs to approve, who needs to be notified. And we'll do that in all those. So that's what the box is between the 1 up and the line VP. Going down, you can see we got a C and a D, and the approval paths are just getting shorter. So like an example for like a performance review, typical approval would be the originator, the 1 up, and then HR. So that might be a D level approval for most folks. And then we have E. An E approval would be somebody's going to originate it and HR is going to approve it. So these could be things like name changes if we decide to do that in employee self-service. And again, not only is the approval path designated by school, but because we're setting the security up by institution, you would be able to say, well, I don't want my employees to change name, or I do want my employees to change name. Now going back to our Constitution, where we're trying to get to one system, kind of one process, one look into it, we're going to try to encourage everybody to be as similar as possible. So that's kind of my job, try to herd everybody back together. This is the worksheet that we'll be walking through, and you can see the list. It's probably hard to read way back in the back of the room, but on the left side, we've got a list of transactions for self-service. And then to the right, you can see whether we're going to include that at that specific school, and then what the approval path would be. And we've gone through this exercise with GGC and the system office. And what we're finding is people are grouping together. So like, even though you're separate and apart in your different institutions, when you get to the approval path, you're kind of choosing the same things. So what we think we'll see is a big grouping, probably 3 to 4 groupings of large approval processes. And so that's kind of what we want, so it's not a maintenance nightmare. Does anybody, I was going to ask if anybody had any questions, but you got note cards. The other thing that's hard for me to do is stand behind the podium, so I'm really trying. I want to walk over there so bad and point. It's making me crazy. So on the slide, we've got questions. The website will post the FAQs, right, Craig? So,
Yes, and the presentation.
And the presentation. So I'll answer all the cards. There's no dumb questions. All the questions are good on this one because it is really new technology, and would expect it to generate some questions. And then my email down here at the bottom is joe.britton. It's just like the country with an extra T, so it's pretty easy to remember, at usg.edu. So, and you're going to, well, you won't be able to see it on my phone, but I got 15,000 unread emails, but that won't be y'all, so don't let that sway you. Go ahead and email me. So what we're going to do now is we're going to walk into the demo, and I just want to show you quickly. I was going to try to show this and lead some of this from the phones, but you can see when we talk about a fluid interface, so, I mean, yeah, it's pretty fluid. So, and we are planning to deploy the fluid through the PC. So your end users are only going to see one view of the world. So the service center, big yay, because everybody's seeing the same thing. Yes. Apple, Mac, Safari, Firefox. And I can tell you, even the market leaders like Workday only supports Android and the iOS. They don't support Microsoft operating system. So we're actually ahead of them on some things. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of the demo here on this phone. Can y'all see okay? But I did want to just reemphasize the fact that it's not vaporware. It's all delivered and ready to be used right out of the box. So that's good news. What we're going to do now is we'll start with employee self-service. And you can see here on this interface, if I'm on a PC, I've got a drop down. Down here, you see the 2 dots. So if you're on your phone, you're just swiping. So it recognizes swipes and zooms. I'm totally blind now, so like the zoom is awesome for me. I'll probably do everything from an iPad, honestly. I'm going to go ahead and click in personal details. And just so right now we're an employee. We've got our employee hat on, and we're just looking at our addresses, contact details, marital status, names, ethnic groups, emergency contacts, and additional data. So we'll walk through this just real quickly. Everybody knows what an address is. I'm not going to waste your time going through there. The only thing to call out is how clean the look and feel is. And we'll go ahead and click in one so I can show you how clean this side of it is. So gone are like the plus and the minus buttons and the effective date and all that stuff. We've got a change as of effective date, but that's not really the same thing. You know, the interface right now is big round boxes, easy to use, and you can imagine this on an iPad. You know, it really looks nice. We've got contact details. Whenever we go live, some of these will be locked down. We've talked about locking down like the things that we're loading for business email and business phone, and then folks will be able to update their own information as needed. We've got marital status in here. This will actually kick off a life event. So you got married or you got divorced, legally separated, and then starts the life event for us. Names. And typically we'll have an approval on names. It's always pretty much a stop at payroll until they get some documentation to support the name change. Right now we have the ability to update your ethnic group. With our decision on a recruiting system, the only time you would do this as an applicant, you would self-identify. Once you're an employee, you may want to be a little more fluid about your ethnic group or race, and this allows you to do that. So we have emergency contacts, which is good. And then we have this additional information. This is kind of our catch-all page right now, and you can see we've got the gender on here, date of birth, social security numbers on here, smoker status. So we're having discussions about these pages, about what's going to be removed, what's going to be added. This is basically a demo database where we've added in some information. And so that's why this page is looking a little more vanilla right now. But we are talking about some of this information we may not want to include, and then other stuff we may want to include more on it. It's kind of a catch-all for us. So going back, the other things you can do as an employee is performance reviews. We'll be doing performance reviews in PeopleSoft, and that's the primary reason I logged in as this user, is I just wanted to show you and it's going to take just one more second to load that right pane. So you can see over here on the left, we've basically got steps or train stations, kind of a walkthrough of the process. So defining criteria, nominating participants, self-evaluation. Don't worry about what the text says necessarily right now. What I'm trying to point out is that it's really user-friendly. Like this is the task I have to do, this is when it's due. Over here on the right is how I get it done. So I just wanted everybody to kind of get an idea of what this looked like in these environments. So you can see like here I've got some goals. We'll fix that snowman in just a second. That's exciting too. You'll have to, the pictures I picked out, you have to let me know if you like them for the next section, the next part of it. So anyway, so this is what the review piece looks like, and then I'm just going to pop back into Fluid Home. So we've got performance, personal details. We'll go through company directory in a second. You can submit time from here, absence management from here, which is a tile that's missing. See your paycheck, talent profile. This is where your license, certifications, degrees, all that stuff is, whether or not they've been verified or not. So I can add a degree, but it's not been verified by HR. So that's another place we'd put in like that D-level or E-level approval to say, okay, you got a degree, but now somebody's got to verify it. And then we got benefits. Benefits is where we would kick off your open enrollment and those types of activities. So again, just as an employee, these tiles are pretty easy to customize and add. And we haven't fully decided how we're going to deploy it. We can add a lot of content in here, and it might be a little overwhelming, or we can keep it really short and sweet, for the initial pilot. So those are all decisions that we're still going through. And as we get through the UAT, we'll have feedback, and that's how we'll make those decisions. So on the manager self-service side, again, you can see we got a couple extra tiles here. We've got a company directory, approvals, my team, this team performance, which is going to take you back into all the performance documents for your organization. We have an absence analytics and a team performance status. So we can actually deliver analytics and reports through the Fluid interface, which is really nice. At performance review time, whenever people are late getting their reviews in, everybody can see how late they are or how on time they are. The first thing you say when you call somebody, you say, hey, your review's late. They go, oh, I didn't know. Well, you can't, now. You can just log in and hit this little square and you get it. And then we also have some tie-ins with the recruiting product. So everything that a manager would need to do in the system or an employee needs to do in the system, we would try to deploy through Fluid. And again, the interface is very different than what the traditional interface is in PeopleSoft. So I'm going to click on my team. And we've got a couple of views here. I'm going to call this the snowman view. We'll look again at that in just a second. But the primary thing I wanted to show you here is we have these, anywhere you see a little button like this, we've got related action menu. And so you can do everything for somebody straight from, honestly, you can do it from the company directory. You could do it from the org chart. You can do it from this My Team. You can do it from the performance system. So if you're in the performance system and you're on somebody's name and you see that little icon, you can transfer them if you wanted to. So the whole thing about Fluid is it's all one big circle, right? You don't have to go here to do that or there to do that. You could just do it from all places, all the time. And so that's what this action is here. The other thing that this gives us that I like a lot is what they call guided self-service. So I'm a manager. The challenge for managers is that a lot of managers aren't in our systems every day like we are. We can't understand why they can't get this stuff into us. But, if you're logging in every 2 or 3 months, you got a lot going on as a manager, so we're trying to make it as easy as possible. So we've got this guided self-service piece. Are you changing job information? Are you changing work location details? Yes and no. And what it's going to do on the next page is it's going to reformat this page and only allow me the information that I need to change. So it's going to kind of, skinny down what that page looks like so that I'm more likely to be successful. We're not going to save those changes. And so I'll show you here, like if we're just changing employee supervisor, for instance. So you can see now it's much shorter. All we've got really is it gives you the new information and the current information. So you would just change the supervisor name here and move on. So pretty cool, yeah. I mean, I think it's a big win. The other thing that we have over here, you see this decision support. He's going to slide in, and we own all of this content. So this is where we're going to put FAQs for managers, for transferring an employee, for instance, things to think about. The facilities, compensation guidelines. I mean, there's anything we need to put here, we can. So I think the decision support's pretty powerful too. You're not going to keep people from picking up the phone and calling. But if you can win 40, 50, 60, 70% of the people doing it without having to call you, that's a huge win, right? So we're just trying to reduce it. And then every time you pick up the phone, you can say, hey, did you know we have this cool new decision support tool? Have you taken a look at it? Your answer's actually in there, and I'm happy to help you on the phone, but next time, maybe you could start there, right? So we try to, that retraining effort, which will be continuous and constant.
I just want to put that, are those decision support things institution specific? So like if Florida Southwestern has some things?
Yes, they are. They can be institution specific. And honestly, I don't mind taking questions at all, but if you write, yeah, I know, but if you write it on the card, I can give it to everybody. Like I'll put it on the website and everybody will know. So see how I redirected you? It's kind of, no, but I really think that it's good information. It's great questions, and like I said, I'll definitely answer that. Like it said, just ignore the 15,000 unread emails. I'll get to yours. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put the salary. So we'll talk about some of the salary information here real quick. Oh, wait. I got to make the right changes. Okay, so I'm just going to, see, now the other thing that's nice is if I do this and I don't change anything, it tells me that I need to change something. And then if, say, I'm going to put this person in a new job title, head coach. That's a big change. It makes a little yellow dot here. So, I mean, again, it's really trying to lead people down the path, And again, you're still going to get calls, but I think it's a lot better than it was. So this is the compensation details. Anytime you get to a compensation details, I've got this listed because we're not doing a lot with the ranges right now this is again a demo database we loaded with people and we don't have a lot of range information. So you can see we've got hourly rates, flat rates. We can do a lot of different components of pay, which we've always been able to do in PeopleSoft. But the primary reason I brought you here is so you can see the comp ratio, the minimum, the midpoint, and the maximum. And then this line way over here is where I'm at. So it lets you know where they're at on the scale, how much you would need to get them to a certain point. And so this allows you kind of to model it. Like I want to get somebody to the midpoint, what's that going to take? I want to get somebody to the minimum, what's that going to take? And so I think having that information, at your fingertips as a manager, as you're doing the transaction is pretty powerful. So again, I haven't changed anything. I don't think 10's going to get them there. Right, so again, we still have all the normal warnings we would have in PeopleSoft. Those are deployed through Fluid. So this annual rate's less than the minimum specified on the salary grade table. So I can click OK. Right now, that's an error message. We have the ability to make that a warning. And what I'll do over here is, oops. I'm trying to turn around and drive. It's not a good idea. So it's just telling me it's greater than 20 and still less than the minimum specified. I don't know what it's going to take to get this person in the range. Yeah, it's going to be a lot, isn't it? Hang on.
That's $108,000.
Oh, is it? Okay. Let's see what this percentage runs up being. 999. All right.
Should have done flat amount, not hourly.
Yeah. Hang on one second. Let's go back to the questionnaire. So like right now, I'm a manager, and I'm having trouble. So we're going to go back. Hang on a second. I've got him.
Doing demo.
I know, right? I got him all confused here. Oh, hang on one second. Yeah, I know, right? No, I don't want to change this. There we go. So it always lets you out. That's the good news, and it's going to bring me back. So this little home button, and that's probably some of the things that we'll need to train folks on. We will have emails and stuff to let people kind of know. We're hoping this is more like an Amazon experience where we don't have to spend days in training and that kind of thing. We will have some of that level of training available for some folks, but definitely like the quick hits and that kind of stuff. So I'll go back in to my team. We'll take care of Cynthia. Transfer again. We're not going to mess with salary this time. Now, the other thing that we're going to be doing, how many folks are using position management today? Everybody's using position management? Okay. So that's the nice thing about position management is the manager really only has to worry about one level of change, and then that change, it drives like your department, your job code, all those other pieces. So I think it makes it easier for managers to work with that. You don't get people in the wrong department doing that kind of stuff. So what we'll get down here at the end is a transfer approval chain, and you can see this is pending, so it's just routed this to my manager. So Nancy Reed would have to log in now and approve this request. The way that you get the notifications is up here on this notifications flag. You'll get, it actually gives you a 1, a 2, or 3, however many approvals that you need to do, and it'll show up on this notifications, and you'll be able to just go in and approve straight from there. So at some point, when I talk about the mobile functionality right now, I think we're talking about that being inside the firewall. Once we punch outside and we can do things on the internet, you could probably be at the golf course and approve things, shopping and approve things, wherever you're at, which I think will be a big win. That's definitely to be determined. All right, so that's my team. The other thing that you'll see here is it tells me who my managers are that have directs and then how full their staff is. So this is 20 of 20 is filled. This person here, Nettie, probably needs some help. It's 4 of 21, actually in her organization. And then up here at the top, we've got compensation again, just kind of that whole circle. So I can see your compensation and leave balances off the fluid tiles, or I can just click here and continue to go through this way. We have some printing ability that we'll talk about at some point. Being able to actually print org charts and those kind of things, I think that's something a lot of people like to see, is a printable org chart. Anytime you see a link like this, the email phone, it's going to go ahead and pick that up and let you go ahead and send. This today's status, this is where your employees, so it's a little bit like a hub. I mean, some companies, if they're doing a lot of project work and you're logging a lot of time and you're in there daily, you can actually, as an employee, put your status in there, kind of like where you're at, what's going on. And so they've tried to build it kind of as a way to manage everything about your employees, even on a daily basis. So again, all this stuff is available. Whether you choose to use it or not is really up to you guys. You may have 5 managers that use it and 100 that don't. But the 5 managers that use it are going to love it. So, all right. So I'm going to go back to my home page. And right now, I want to log out of this user because they've been nothing but trouble to me. And log in as, I think the one thing that looks nicer here on company directory, I went ahead and loaded some pictures. So this is Morgan Mitchell. I'm on the company directory tile. That's what I just clicked on. And so I can look for anybody in the organization. Trying to think of somebody we have. So I got Cuba Gooding. Cuba's got 2 jobs. He's an assistant coach and he's a campus police officer. I didn't use their real pictures because I was afraid of getting in trouble, right? I didn't want somebody's agent showing up telling them I owed them $50 for using their picture and their name. So this just happens to be somebody named Cuba Gooding. So what we can look at here is we can see he's a campus police officer and an assistant coach at 2 schools. Now the nice thing, when everybody's all in the same database, if you had multiple jobs at multiple institutions, you'd be able to see that he was at like Georgia Gwinnett and UGA and any other Armstrong, any of the other schools that we have. So we'd be able to see that because we would all be in the same database. The other nice thing about this is if we did this search and we had a lot of Cuba Goodings, we can look by country, probably not applicable, state, city, business unit, department, job title, and it lets us narrow down those results. So pretty powerful search tool, and this really is like an Amazon look and feel, being able to sort that way. And then of course company. So I'm going to go ahead and look at him here on public safety. And so I've got his picture up here. I can see some of his job details. Again, a lot of this stuff. So here's his reporting structure, his HR details, job function, manager level, org relationship, years of service. This is another kind of catch-all page for us, and we will have some changes to this page as we get into the actual production environment. But the nice thing here is that, you know, we can see he's only working 19 hours a week for this organization or for this job. And years of service, you know, we'll be, again, tweaking this depending on what kind of information we want to see there. Now, we talked about a lot of the things being templated, so you'll be able to make decisions by school or institution. Some of the things are going to be global. So like when we decide what this page looks like, everybody's going to get the same page, okay? So there will be instances like that we'll go through. And we've had a really good cross-institutional team of HR people together to kind of work through all those details. Some of them are in the room now. And so I think we've done a really good job of trying to meet all the needs. I think our primary focus is if we think we need it, let's include it. And then if we don't need it, we can remove it in UAT. So that way go in heavy and we can bring it back out if we need to. So this is something else you can do in PeopleSoft. You can have personal statements and links. So that could be your LinkedIn profile. One of the nice things, though, is you can see peers. So if you remembered somebody's name, but what department they were in, but you can't remember exactly what the person's name, you can come in here and say Al Pacino, Aubrey Hepburn, Billy Thornton. Is that Billy? That's Billy Bob Thornton. Billy Bob. And Carol Burnett, one of my. But this allows you to come in here and see everybody that's related that would be considered a peer for him. And then we can also go in and view the org chart for CUDA. And we'll go in, and we're going to click on Mark Russell and see Mark Russell's org chart. So the reason I put photos in here is it really does make it look nice. Right now we're going to allow, I think, employees to upload photos. Again, that's going to be one that has an approval. HR is the gatekeeper. So we don't want to get a picture of the, you know, big bass that you caught this weekend. We want kind of thing. And you'll get that, I promise. I was at one client and they had this wall. They kept all the pictures that people submitted on a wall, you know, and it was amazing, the pictures that they submitted. So we're typically looking just for a headshot. Now, I honestly scrape these right off the internet. They're just JPEG files. This isn't a fussy process. I mean, my 14-year-old daughter, because she's the selfie queen, could take care of this in 3 minutes. So, you know, typically uploading photos used to be back in the day was pretty complicated. Things would get cropped weird. You know, you'd load your photo and just have a picture of your shoulder. So all that's pretty well taken care of with this product.
What about potential feeds from like our ID services where they're already taking the headshots for all of our staff and student ID?
Great question. And so I think that would definitely be a later item. I've done that at other companies, and it's the smartest way to do it from a security perspective because they won't let you smile and you have to keep your eyes open, and it's a more controlled photo. So yeah, that would be the goal. But again, make sure you write that down so I can, there you go, gotcha. Yeah, write those questions down because I want to get those back out. So here's Kuda Gooden Jr. You can actually, so he's not a favorite right now. I'm not sure exactly what this is. I don't know. It seems like you get in a lot of trouble with this one. You're a manager. I don't know. I got to do a little research on the little star. You might see that disappear. I don't know that I like that. Because, I mean, literally, you click it and it's all of a sudden, oh, he's a star now. So, I don't know. Feels a little scary to me, an HR guy. So now we're just looking at Kuda. It's all the same stuff, but now he's my favorite. So we're going to go back and look at Morgan Mitchell again. I think that's who I'm logged in as. So like here's the update photo. So it allows you to have multiple photos, right? So if you want to have a Christmas picture and HR will approve it or something, have a hat on, or if you want to have, you know, an Easter picture, whatever kind of picture you want to have, you can have depending on what HR approves. And whenever HR gets this, you do get to see the photo, the way that it's going to be uploaded onto the site, and then you get to say yes or no. And the nice thing is the employee gets an email that says, yeah, we're not going to let that happen. Hopefully they'll change their course with the next one that they submit. But I think this is nice. I mean, I really like the photos. I think this could function as a full company directory, and it has at other companies that I've worked with. They just use this straight out of the gate. They deploy this link to their intranet or well, intranet, not internet, but intranet. And then people click that, they don't have to log in, and they can pull people up and see pictures and see details about where they work and who they work for and that kind of stuff, which is really the kind of information you'd want on a company. You don't typically just want a phone number. You want some other information about the person. And again, this is me now, so I'm going to go in here and look at my org chart. So we'll look at Catherine Zeta-Jones. And this is that little icon that we were talking about. Remember the fluid thing where you can do anything from anywhere? So I'll click on Catherine Zeta-Jones and I can do all the things I could do. You know, I don't have to constantly back out and start all over with the process. And we've got a lot of items there that we probably wouldn't have, again, once we get the security straight. I did get a picture of Brad Pitt uploaded, so y'all can't really see that, but he's gone downhill. I'm really happy about that. I shouldn't say that. Anyway, so that's the company directory. Again, coming back in, I'm going to go back to my search results. And this icon, so this back button, you know, we talk a lot about the back button on previous releases of PeopleSoft. What we're trying to do, especially on the iPad, you don't have a back button, so you're really navigating within this frame at this point. You're not really trying to get back to a back button at any point. So I'm going to go to my home page. And then back to employee self-service. So this is where we have personal details for me. And we've looked at this screen again. But it's all the same information. So whenever we talk about manager self-service and employee self-service per institution, you'll get basically one manager self-service view of the world and one employee self-service view of the world. We'll go through that matrix that we looked at initially that's got the Excel spreadsheet, yes, no, and that's telling us whether you want to have the function, and then what approval process you want to have to the side of it. The additional columns are going to be your notifications, your reviewers. Whenever those items are decided, we'll put together a proof of concept or a little conference room pilot, because you really have to see it, right? I mean, just sitting in a room and writing stuff down is really hard to envision what it's going to look like. All this stuff, again, is template driven, so we have changes day after go live, 2 days after go live, 2 days before go live. Because they're not customizations, it gives us a lot of flexibility. The hardest thing about this is getting folks to agree. That's the hardest thing, is getting everybody together. All right, so we've gone through the guided self-service. We looked at it on the phone and the iPad. You guys, these are just the paycheck view. I don't have any. I'm logged in as Morgan, sorry. So we have a paycheck view. This would just allow you to look at your paycheck. And then again, we'll go back in. We've looked at the performance benefits. I think that's everything. So, yes. Do you want to see team time or employee self-service time?
Both.
Okay.
See the employees and the manager side on their group.
This is an executive, so we'll see. So let's talk through this. So we'll start at the bottom. We have absence balances, requests and absence. So this is the absence management piece, leave balance, payable time, weekly time, and report time. And I don't think he's in a time reporter. Yeah. So we don't have an assignment for him.
They're getting you off script.
Yeah, that's fine though. I don't mind running off script. So I'll log in as this other user here right quick. Oops. So we'll do regular. So it's going to start building. So the person that I'm logged in as, I'm assuming is probably an exempt employee. So we're looking at just, again, this interface is really clean. There's not a lot of information, a lot of detailed information, a lot of asterisks and that kind of stuff on the page. So I guess this is more like the web clock. We'll go look at the weekly. So like here's my weekly time. I've reported 8 hours. And then you can scroll through the weeks this way. Again, it's really, if you think about an iPad interface, that's the way it's going to work on the computer. It's a swipe, it's a zoom, all those things on the PC as well. And then, of course, payable time once everything runs. We got leave balances. Wait a minute. I thought this person had absence balances. Yeah. So this person doesn't have absence balances. But all these time tiles that you're looking at here, based on your security, who you are, what you got access to, that page is going to be a little bit different. The employees would see one thing, the managers are going to see another. If you come back over to the home page and look at the manager self-service piece, you'll see that we've got 14,760 exceptions. So again, a demo database, that's the kind of thing you get. So
10 more minutes.
okay. Apparently it takes a long time to load 14,000 exceptions.
Yeah, we may be here this time tomorrow.
Yeah, I know, right? I believe in it, though. Too many. All right. That's the whole presentation. That's really all I had. I guess we can take questions the last 10 minutes. If everybody just remembers to write them on their card, I'd be happy to take any questions that you guys have around the fluid interface.
On the evaluations, will they keep a history of the evaluations, or is only the most current ones going to be available?
It'll give a full history to the manager and the employee. Yep. Good question.
Can we see an employee that's just on sale,
I'm sorry?
clock in, like an hourly employee, can we see that?
We can. So that's where Barney's sitting right in front of you. Time and labor, we need to coordinate that. On this demo, we don't have this system set up to do that. But yeah, so you're talking about like the web clock where you go in and you hit in and out. Yeah. So that's something we can take a note and show that. But
Are the URLs captured for the non-state employees?
are the URLs captured for, you're talking about for the logging in and logging out?
I've seen that we're becoming so mobile.
Right. We can, the challenge is like the mobile devices and you VPN in and everything gets, if you're sitting inside the firewall, I think that's a lot easier. That's a technical question I'd have to ask probably. Yeah. I'll just write that one down and see if we can get an answer. Yeah. Because I know it does record IP address on inside the firewall transactions, but I don't know that it does like the mobile devices. I don't know how that would work if we allowed that.
See that, maybe if they do it from their phone, they can see that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then I would imagine. Okay, great. Great. Yeah, well, I really just need to look at that one. I don't know. Does anybody have anything else? Oh.
You just entered that time just for that day. Is there a week where they can enter it as a week at a time, or do they have to go each day?
They can do a week at a time. Like I said, this is just a demo database that's set up. And I'm not even, that person wasn't even a non-exempt employee. So. Great. Okay, so we have an org chart question. Will the system allow users to create mailing labels? That's a good one. So mailing labels from a manager's perspective or mailing labels from a HR practitioner's perspective? I'm not sure who. From a manager's perspective, yeah. So we can deploy different XML templates. That's what your paycheck is. It's just an XML template. And XML is just a fancy way of, it's a fancy mail merge really, right? So it's pulling data from the database and it's going to load it in this template. We can build a template for mail labels. I'm not sure where that would be on the priority list or how many, like the problem with mailing labels is you have different forms. You have to have the right form. You have to have the right label. So it's pretty tough to do.
I'll answer that in a little bit.
Okay.
I can tell you the things that I've seen a lot of people do, y'all said the thing, when you got the query tool, which downloads into Excel, which then it's real easy to do mail merges and things like that to either. Oh, here it is. Okay, what I was going to say is that what I've done in the past is use queries to download that information into Excel and then use Excel functionality to do mail merges or to create mailing labels and things things like that, because Joe's right, the variable in that is that we all have to pick the same A38162 mailing label, which y'all, that's hurting the cats, okay? And so, like I said, as an HR practitioner, the most robust solution is actually a little bit of an old school solution, which is to throw it into Excel and then interact with whatever you got at Office Depot. Okay? Managers will have access to query. Absolutely. And in the session I talked about yesterday, we are trying to segregate the difference. There's a query viewer where you run a bunch of predefined queries versus query manager, which you actually can go in and create queries. Thank you. The thing about it, when we start rolling out query managers, there'll be an expectation that you've attended training. Because you can really bring the system to its knees if you don't know what you're doing. And so if you're somebody who hasn't attended training, day one you'll get query viewer. Okay? If you're someone who has attended training, then you'll also get query manager. Okay? Which has nothing to do with, well, I guess it has a little bit to do with employee manager self-service.
Yeah, it does, yeah, exactly.
Other questions?
So we did get a question about accessing, the managers and employees accessing the database off-site or off-campus. Again, that's going to be something, there's a lot of technical challenges around that.
Yeah, let me talk about it a little bit too, if you don't mind. At the technical session yesterday, I actually addressed this. And so for the pilot, we're not going to have public, go to Starbucks and log in access. So Joe's right, we have to do with things that it's a bunch of technical mumbo jumbo, but two-factor authentication, encryption of data, things like that. And so if you think about it, if you look at the roadmap that we presented yesterday and we talked about the retiree centralization, that is a large population that needs to be able to access the system externally off of our network. And so really the idea is that external access needs to, at a minimum, align with that retiree centralization activity. Okay? And so our plan is to deploy it, but we have technical hurdles to overcome. So we're eating the elephant one bite at a time. And so that's a future bite.
Only thing is what I'm concerned about is we have managers who will then go in and approve time cards, and they can be off campus in meetings.
All right, and so my answer to that is even if they're off campus, we'd have to offer them VPN connectivity.
Yeah,
and they can do
that's
it.
right.
And so it's not that you can't go to Starbucks and do it. It means we're really enforcing that two-factor authentication, and that we're making them log on to the network and then log into the application instead. And really the only difference is that when we actually get this done, is that you can go to Starbucks and hit oneusg.usg.edu and boom, you're right there.
We just need to make sure we got our IT involved, because we
Absolutely.
have only a certain number of VPN
Absolutely.
connections at some institutions.
Absolutely, and it's exactly. I know it is a bigger deal, and we'll have to work on that also. With the ITS team too. As to whether it's something that we handle, corporately, right, versus handle at your institution. I think both solutions ultimately work because they get you on BeachNet, but we just got to talk through it. Everybody's leaving. I saw a question back here in the back.
Yes, the first thing, they said something about a browser, but I couldn't hear it. Did I hear correctly that it will be also compatible with iOS?
So the question is about the browsers.
Yeah, sure. So what browsers are supported? The iOS is supported. All the Firefox, Safari, everything that you can pretty much imagine is. They've actually deployed this through browsers. Whenever you hit it on your phone, you're actually on a browser. So the iOS is supported, Android supported, the Microsoft operating system supported. We've not hit anything yet. The only issues we've had is folks who are still running really old browsers from like the 90s, and there's still people out there who do that. They have issues, but they have issues everywhere on the internet.
I think we're almost out of time. By the way, so if there's a few more questions we haven't answered, we'll get to them. The other thing we were going to tell you is that we did cherry pick a few sessions to record, and so some of you may or may not have noticed, but there is a camera in the back of the room. This is one of those that we did record so that when you went back to your institution, if you felt like you had some of your coworkers that would benefit from seeing this, that they would have the same opportunity that you all had here at Summit. Okay? All right, so if that's it, have a great day, and hopefully we'll see many of you here in the next session.
Thanks, everybody.